Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Blue Bounty Hunter channel. And today in this What If video, I'll be talking about the scene where Yoda tells Obi-Wan that he isn't powerful enough to fight Emperor Palpatine. Except in this version, the two Jedi will switch who they fight, leading to a duel between Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Sidious. But with that said, let's jump right in. The entrance to the Jedi Temple was lit with the blades of the Jedi and the screams of the fallen clones. To meet them in the storm of battle stood Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, two of the very few Jedi remaining after Darth Sidious had given the order to all clones to eliminate the Jedi traitors. And after a transmission had been sent out telling all Jedi to return to the Jedi Temple, the two Jedi Masters had realized the trap that was being set up, and in a desperate last attempt to save the Jedi survivors, had gone to the Jedi Temple to change the message. Multiple platoons of 501st troopers charged at the Jedi, but were cut down by the blue and green blades. With the combination of Obi-Wan's great defensive fighting style and Yoda's acrobatic moves, the two easily cut through each clone, letting their connection and serenity through the Force to guide them. Kenobi was briefly stopped by two airborne troopers that knocked him off his feet using a thermal detonator, but he was able to get back up and force push them into a wall, killing the clones on impact. After briefly checking on some fallen younglings, the two made their way to the central security station of the temple, where Obi-Wan intended to change the message that was present. Kenobi re-signaled the message to tell survivors that it was a trap and that they should stay away from the temple and to trust in the Force. And following this, Obi-Wan met up with Yoda again, and as they passed the security recordings, Obi-Wan decided he would watch them to find out who committed the dark deeds witnessed across the Jedi Temple. Yoda warned him that he will find nothing but pain, but Obi-Wan found himself moving towards the play button without even thinking, which led him to discovering that his former apprentice, Anakin Skywalker, now known as Darth Vader, was responsible for the deaths of many of the Jedi in the temple, including the younglings. Then Yoda said the one thing that Obi-Wan was hoping he wouldn't.
If save the galaxy from the shroud of the Sith we wish, then destroy the Sith we must.
But Master, surely we can still save Anakin. I mean, just last week, I was fighting alongside him to save the Chancellor. How is it that he could become such a monster in such a short time?
A shadow of his former self, the friend you once knew is now. Anakin is now Vader. Have Sidious to blame for his twisting you do.
Even if this is true, I must destroy Sidious for what he has done to Anakin.
Powerful enough to take on the Emperor, you are not. Fight Darth Sidious, I will, and take Vader yourself, you can.
If I go to fight Vader, I will be biased and holding myself back. This weakness will surely allow him to defeat me. It's not worth the risk.
See what you're implying I do, but fight Darth Sidious I must, if any chance at this we want.
With this, Obi-Wan realized that against his best wishes, he had no other choice than to use a Jedi mind trick on Yoda, as he would not change his mind otherwise.
You will let me go to the Senate building to let me fight the Emperor.
Let you fight Darth Sidious, I will. search for Vader to defeat him. I will be with you. The Force shall be.
And with you, old friend.
So I know that it is a little bit of a stretch to assume that Obi-Wan would be able to do a mind trick on literally one of the most powerful Force users in the galaxy, but you kind of have to work with me here. With this, the two Jedi part ways and Obi-Wan heads for a transport speeder to talk to Padme Amidala. Kenobi arrives at Padme's suit to discuss Anakin, who is now Darth Vader, and after sitting himself down next to the view of the city, Obi-Wan explains to Padme how he has seen Anakin killing Jedi and Jedi younglings alike, telling her that he was seduced by the dark side and turned into a Sith Lord.
I don't believe it. How could Anakin let this happen?
You know just as well as I that we must defeat him.
No, I won't let you kill Annie.
I will not touch him. I could never do that to my former friend. But after I take on Sidious at the Senate building, we must destroy the last of the Sith.
I understand, Obi-Wan.
Remember, I'm doing this for Anakin, Anakin's wife, and Anakin's son.
You know?
Of course I do. After all the time you've known me, one thing you can probably tell is that I'm quite clever. But goodbye, Senator. Hope to see you soon.
The Jedi then steps into his transport and tells the driver to set course for the Senate building. But meanwhile, in Palpatine's office, the newly revealed Sith Lord plots with Lord Vader through a hologram, telling him to return to Coruscant now that he has killed all of the Separatist leaders on Mustafar.
You have done well, my apprentice. Now you must return to the capital so that we can begin the final stages of starting our new empire.
Of course, my master. It was light work to deal with the Slamos here on the lava planet. I will soon be at your side again to complete the great Sith vision.
Very good. With the two most powerful Force users in the galaxy combined, the Empire will be as strong as ever, and with the Jedi as nothing but a whisper, nothing will stand in our way ever again.
Vader starts to respond, but is cut off as the hologram fails, and one by one, each light in the building turns off as the power to the Senate building is abruptly shattered. Sidious leans forward in his chair and then walks past his desk to inspect the hallway outside his room. As the Sith Lord got closer to the entrance of his room, he noticed a faint blue light at the end of the hallway, and as he got closer to the door, the blue aura became more and more significant until it filled up the entire room. With his curiosity getting the best of him, Sidious turned his head around the corner, revealing the Jedi Master, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Palpatine backed up and used the Force to pull out his single crimson blade, waiting for the right time to ignite it. And as Obi-Wan stepped through the door with his blade dragging on the ground behind him, melting through the floorboards, he raised his blade towards the Sith.
I've come to finish what my fallen comrades tried to start. The destruction of the Sith and revenge for my friend.
You fool. I was under the impression that revenge was not the Jedi way.
I make my own way.
Very well. Then I must inform you that your way ends here. You failed your former apprentice, who is now twisted by the dark side and under my control. You failed the Jedi whose dead, rotting corpses lie throughout the galaxy. And you have failed your Jedi friend, Yoda, who will have to feel you die.
Oh yes, I am quite afraid he will feel a disturbance in the Force at your slaughter. That is assuming that you would defeat me, and I'm not willing to let that happen. While you are right that I have my problems also define me. They help me learn, they make me stronger, and they are the reason I will defeat you.
Enough of this banter. I will destroy you like I destroyed your weak friend, Anakin Skywalker.
With this, Sidious turns on his red lightsaber, filling the room up with contrasting colors. The Jedi springs into combat with a battle cry loud enough for all of Coruscant to hear. The two opponents meet with a swirl of red and blue, Obi-Wan with his strong defensive style, and Palpatine with his fast and dangerous form of lightsaber combat. As they moved around the dark room underneath the main Senate chamber, their lightsabers were the only light filling up the dark space. Sidious sends a massive strike at Obi-Wan from above, which briefly stuns him, but then he gets back up again into the fight. The two make their way over to the Chancellor's pod, where Darth Sidious presses a button to turn the emergency power on, and as the hatch that is the ceiling opens and the two fight back and forth on the pod with acrobatic flips and twirls in the air, the main pod makes it to its resting position, creating a loud, audible clank. Kenobi leaps onto a lower pod with Sidious close behind, who starts to build up his dark side rage. Just as Obi-Wan turns around again, he is met with the sight of the Emperor wielding multiple Senate pods using only the Force, the circular pods spinning in the air like a chainsaw to Obi-Wan's face. Kenobi dodges most of them, but turns around at the last and uses all of his possible might to push it back at Sidious. The pod misses the Dark Lord by a hair on his cloak, and then Obi-Wan flips onto the ground below. Darth Sidious lands surely and raises his hands, but before Obi-Wan can react, hundreds of massive tendrils of lightning leap out at him, lightly burning his robes. Kenobi puts up his lightsaber to stop the barrage from killing him, and using all of his might, Kenobi manages to stop the lightning for a few seconds before the sheer might of it overcomes him and he flies back with his saber knocked out of his hands. So as you can see, this fight is pretty similar to that of Yoda versus Darth Sidious, except in this one, Obi-Wan would be more on the defensive due to the fact that he did not share the skills and overall force power of Yoda. Palpatine moves closer as the lightning enfolds Obi-Wan, tearing him apart, but then, feeling the last of his strength ebb away, Kenobi uses the Force to pull another Senate pod towards Darth Sidious. The Dark Lord dodges out of the way to avoid being crushed, and Obi uses this time to get back up and grab his lightsaber, and running up the side of the wall, Obi-Wan lands on the damaged pod next to Sidious, but Sidious then kicks Obi-Wan off of the pod, sending him flying onto the platform below, and he then jumps down to finish him. But after kicking himself up, Kenobi locks sabers with the Sith again in a final attempt to kill him.
Why do you fight so hard for your miserable Jedi? Surely you realize they are wrong.
I fight for balance in the Force, which cannot happen without the destruction of the Sith.
You dogmatic fool. Balance comes from the two sides being equal, not one above the rest. It's no matter, however, for I've made your prophecy of balance irrelevant, and I have killed the Chosen One.
I won't listen to your lies.
Anakin is dead. Lord Vader stands in his place.
You overestimate the power of the dark side. Do I?
Seeing an opening, Obi-Wan tries to stab his lightsaber into the Sith's chest. but Palpatine grabs his lightsaber, and using his now dual lightsabers, Sidious spins his weapons in a circle, slicing through both of Kenobi's arms, and then with one final stroke, the Sith cuts through the Jedi's torso. Obi-Wan tries to speak, but the breath has left his body, and with one more look at the world, the Jedi's lifeless body crumples onto the floor below. After hearing the thud of his body on the metal floor below, Darth Sidious turns off his two lightsabers and throws Kenobi's lightsaber onto the floor with his body. So while Kenobi fought very hard and truly believed in what he was fighting for, as Yoda predicted, the sheer power and unpredictability proved too much for Obi-Wan, who is weakened from all of the swift attacks, and then finished off as quickly and unimportantly as the Jedi Sidious had slain days earlier. Now, before I end the video, I'm actually going to give a quick epilogue so that you can see how the story continues right after this fight. And after the duel, Sidious called up his personal shock troopers to clean up the destruction left in the Senate chambers, and after a hollow news transmission where Palpatine informed the galaxy that yet another Jedi had attempted to murder him, he retreated to his chambers for an important conversation. So it is pretty sad that, kind of against his best wishes, Obi-Wan actually made it seem like even more Jedi were trying to quote-unquote murder Sidious, which led to more support from the galaxy in this story. But going through his transmission codes on his hologram table, Sidious found the signal that led to the Mustafar conference room, which he had used days prior. After turning on the wavy blue transmission, he was met by the tall, commanding figure of Darth Vader standing in front of him.
Lord Vader, we need to talk.
And as you can see, this was only part 1 to a 2-part series, where in part 2, I'd actually explore what happens with Yoda and Darth Vader on Mustafar. So let me know in the comments if that interests you. So yeah, that's it for my first What If video. I know it was a little bit more experimental and story driven than my usual videos, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. But anyway, that's it for this video. You can subscribe if you want to. I upload every Sunday at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, see ya.